December 14th meeting of the Lawrence Redevelopment Commission is hereby called to order. And first, Chair has determined that we have a quorum. And the first order of business would be to review and approve the minutes. The commissioners have received the minutes. Any questions concerning the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Approved and seconded. Do we need to call the?
Nope, just all those for approval.
All those in favor?
Aye.
There we go.
There you go.
Thank you. Brian, take it away.
Good afternoon. Thank you. It's bittersweet to stand in front of you today, but given that, what I have provided you on your desk are two items. One is a one-page summary of the overall project and basically goes through those who have provided the services and the services to date completed, and then the remaining services. And I believe the city is in a very good position with the services provided to make decisions to move forward or not with regards to the district area.
I'm going to interrupt you as I usually do. I asked Brian for this December 14th summary for two purposes. One is for the commissioners to see where we're actually walking away from the work that we initiated, what impact was the stop that I put on the work in November, what they actually wrapped up, what's still needed to allow the new road to be built. So that's what he has done here. The primary thing is the watershed. We pretty much took care of with the ditch that he's going to talk about next. But we do have everything ready should the new administration choose to move forward. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit, but of where we are with them. But nonetheless, this will be going off to the new administration as well, so they can see where this ends up.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Brian. You can.
Yeah, so any questions at any point, please interrupt me, as Dan does. The other document that you have is the final inspection report for the ditch maintenance construction project. In my opinion, having been through the full process on that, the benefits that came forth with this were literally cleaning the existing ditches out so they now will drain. There were 2 or 3 locations that, for whatever reason, they were just completely filled up with dirt. Along with that, the vegetation removal, which was part of the maintenance aspect, provides a clear line of sight now from Franklin all the way to 465 and provides access for any future maintenance or any future activities that may be going on there. In the back of that report are some photos, and they provide what I was just talking about with regards to the visibility and some of the ditching that occurred. Connexco, the contractor, did a very good job, in my opinion. I've worked with a lot of contractors, and they are a good one. The other aspect of this project that brought benefit to the city was being in kind of in the middle of nowhere and ignored in the back parts of these areas. We found water break that we were able to bring to utility and fix a chronic water problem along that alignment, which the ditch now will drain if it ever comes back. With that, I would point out that the joy of this project probably was in the CSX coordination, and you will in the final pay application, the change order that came through deals primarily with the aspects and difficulties the contractor went through with the relatively random removal and return of the CSX representatives. Representatives are very, very cordial. They just left when they had to leave and came back when they were available. So that did impact the schedule greatly, and I believe that Connexco was very fair in their requests for the impact that they provided.
What was the final cost, Brian, of the project?
Final cost is, I have that right here. It was just over 20% increase, not including my understanding of the CSX fees. Those were maintained by the city. The original contract sum was $148,766, and the final completed sum with all change orders were approximately a total of $33,116, and the final cost at $181,882,000.
So I think that was within the realm of what we expected, without any issue there whatsoever. So I would like to commend HWC for the way you handled this on behalf of us in the city. I think the project, when you see what it looked like before, I was kind of surprised we didn't find any bodies. We found about everything else.
I won't argue that. What we did find in the dumping zones, I would say that was unique.
So anyway, I think it's a great project. Does anybody have any questions for either where we're leaving off with Brian or the project itself?
Could you address the punch list, those two items? Is there a reason that CSX did not want you to remove the railroad ties or take care of that vegetation?
The vegetation, I understand. The vegetation would have required the contractor to be on partial slope of the rail embankment, and the contractor could not touch or be on the rail embankment. Where we find, again, a complication of that was more on the southwest area. There was vegetation removal. The CSX, the contractor, had to bring in equipment that they did not bid or quote on, because they had to reach across the ditch to do the vegetation removal because it was next to the embankment. The railroad ties, no idea, none.
Does that impact any of the flooding or the area? I mean, is that something we should revisit in the future, or is it a non-issue?
As a stormwater engineer, I can't stand having obstacles in my ditch. However, the ditch is so deep in those areas that I don't believe, it almost will help the city in some regards if it will fill in a little bit with dirt in that area. But no, I have no idea why they allowed us to take out what ended up being a 36-inch pipe. It was so full of dirt and so covered, it was estimated by the surveyors as being 24-inch. And so they allowed us to remove that, but they did not allow us to remove the other obstacles from the railroad ties. I just don't know. I have an assumption, but it's purely conjecture.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. I noticed those same items.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I actually pointed that out as well is because when I was out there addressing an owner's concern, they brought that to my attention, and so I readily told them, I'm sorry, we can't touch that. So I figured it probably will come to the city's attention someday.
Okay.
I would imagine anybody along that area had to have been very pleased as far as the property owners?
Yes, primarily on the subdivision side on the north. Just as an FYI, the one complaint that came in, what you see there, in my opinion, was relatively well graded, and complained of having 6 sticks and too lumpy of a area to mow with his riding lawnmower. He understands that probably won't be fixed, and that he has opportunity to smooth it out and remove the 6 sticks himself.
Gotcha.
Did you provide him that opportunity?
I kind of hinted that the 6
I see.
probably on him.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
I have provided my information. If at any time there's any questions, I know it's the end of December and a variety of things are moving in Lawrence. Feel free to contact me directly or via Dan at any time.
Thank you.
Very much.
Very much, yeah.
So if I may interject, and
go
thank
ahead.
you, Brian, very, very much. Feel free to stay, but you can also feel free to leave. Thank you. I'd like to personally walk you through the claims report, if I may. The first item on page 1, the Barnes and Thornburg invoice, that is the invoice that we backed off of paying last month. That was for February that we missed before, that I provided you the detail on. So I just want to be sure everybody understands that that's that invoice. Next, Barnes Check, that's their final invoice to serve the RDC in 2023. And I did let them off the hook today. I didn't see any reason for them to be here to be assuming more fees for really nothing but sitting here. I thank Adam for his service on behalf of all of you. DCA, that does actually end up getting paid through the grant, but we do pay it in entire, and they go submit the reimbursement. The next one is Garmong's final invoice. That is our final invoice for all of our services. Then you had the Connexo is the next two invoices that writes them completely out. Then the next item is the bond for the three of you for your services. Then the big item is.
Can I ask, is that bond payment for future for 2023?
That is going forward, correct, Tyler? That bond payment for the commissioners, their personal bonds, isn't that going forward?
Yeah, annually, you'll have to be bonded.
Yeah.
Right, but this is for 2024, correct?
It's,
Do the application.
yeah. Well, we just renewed them to service here in the last few months, so I'm sure that this bond is for their go forward.
It may have just been for the, I think we got to go backwards because
I believe it's
the last time, like the year. So I was looking-
I'd have to check the exact date, but I think it was, I want to say it was early fall when we renewed those bonds.
Yeah,
And I think it was a 12-month period, so it might be,
So 12 months period from the time
From
you
the time-
renew.
Correct.
Maybe it was like an October 1st through
that's
September.
correct.
like mine
30th or
is
something.
June to June.
yes.
Because
the three of you were just renewed. These three were represented from the time when you were sworn back in 2 or 3 months ago. So it is a year.
Except we're sworn in January. So
Not sworn in.
That's why I was
I didn't mean
wondering
sworn
why
in.
we're just getting this now.
Well, you just signed. Mary Jo sent out, and we just had you sign. We just signed the new assignment in the last 3 or 4 months because it crossed my desk. So to answer your question, it is going forward. But I don't know what the time frame is.
Okay, thank you.
It wasn't much help. Mackle Realty is the one I can describe. So Jason Fenwick and I, when we negotiated the real estate deal with Freegee, and they put in the new Plummer Street, I sent you all the detail. They did $600,000 or more work with the city that we agreed to reimburse over 2 separate payments. And quite frankly, we all slept on this. This was actually due in August. And Freegee caught it. I would have if I was them too. And they're asking us to complete this. And this will totally complete the Freegee
This is
project.
the second 300.
This is the second final payment. So with that, I would ask Mr. Chairman that we get approval of these claims.
Any other questions from the commissioners? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the claims.
Make a motion for approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion approved, seconded. Could we do this by
Show of hands.
favor? Thank you. Unanimous.
Mr. Dowdett, do you have a report for us?
Thank you, Tyler.
in the works report for you. So I'm working on a larger, all-encompassing report for the mayor, so there'll be a piece of that for the RDC as well. So I just want to cover the difference between November and my projections for December for the main operating fund. So you have the November financials in front of you, which had the Pendleton Pike TIF ending with, in November, 1.2 million. So just incorporating these claims that you just approved today, we're looking at ending the Pendleton Pike TIF with right slightly above $1 million, so really well funded for that. And then you still have the bond proceeds as well. So moving into 2024, we've left the RDC in really good financial position. And so I'll have some notes on that. One of the really key things that happened from 22 to 23, that's in the Pendleton Pike TIF district or TIF location. We saw an 80% increase in our incremental AV. So that was huge for the property taxes in 2023. That is kind of translated into about a 60% increase in property taxes from last year to this year. So we're in great place as long as things kind of keep rolling that way. But financially, we're in pretty solid position.
Even be better when the time racetrack comes on next year.
Yeah, so that doesn't include that project. So there's
Crew car wash.
And crew car wash, those will be big incremental improvements.
so I mean just kind of a note for everyone kind of moving forward, that's something I would continue to look forward to, is reviewing the incremental AV moving forward. And that's a good key performance indicator, if you will, of the progress made. So seeing 22 to 23 having such a large increase is pretty significant. That's a lot of the projects coming online. So great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your work.
When you get it, when you finish that, could you email a copy?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, I'd sure appreciate it.
I got you. Thank you.
Thank you. May I continue?
You may.
Thank you. So Harrison Ford, that has been a total cluster. It's an embarrassment to the city, the way this has been handled so far. I've been in a lot of discussions this week with a lot of different parties. I'm hoping that the council moves to approve that. What's been so tough about that, it has absolutely zero impact on the city revenue. In fact, if they approve the bond, the city gets $40,000 to their credit because that becomes a new increment. If they don't approve it, they don't get anything. All the money stays inside the FHRA. So I'm having a really difficult time understanding why the county is sitting on this, and it's a total expansion of about $30 million. So hopefully that gets resolved this Wednesday. I sent to all of you, for a couple of reasons, a copy of my transition report provided to the transition team. I hope you all got that. Yep. I provided it to you for a couple of reasons. None of it was about me. I wanted you to understand how much I appreciate the support that you've all provided economic development for the City of Lawrence and the Redevelopment Commission, and you made it possible for us to be involved in so many things. I think when people look back, we all have really done our job, and we can hold our head high. The other part of that is I wanted you to be sure that you understood that we have taken the high road and not held anything back from the new administration. In the transition meeting I had the other day, I gave them that report, but I also gave them 5,944 additional files of everything, totally transparent, all of our RDC meetings, all the mayor's economic development meetings. I gave them copies of all the trades district documents, all the engineering documents, all of the plans that was done, all the different pieces of property, all the zoning we've touched. So they should have every piece of information they need to move forward should they so choose to do so. And I didn't want to be one of those petty groups that walked out and flushed it down a toilet or something. I wanted to be sure they had every piece of information they had to be successful, because even though we're disappointed that we're not going to continue to be in position to see some of the things we've all put in motion to fruition ourselves, we all want this city to be successful, and our whole goal to begin with was to benefit the taxpayers. So we've given them all that information to be sure that they have what they need. So are there any questions regarding the transition and the information we've provided? Hearing none.
I don't have any questions, Dan, but I would just say that was a lot of detail just in what you gave us, and I greatly appreciate that.
Thank you. I just view it as part of my job. So my final remarks to this commission is, and I've said it to Jerry, he's heard this at least once today because we've been in meetings 3 times together today about different things. Jared's heard at least once, but my boss at Garmong says that you should enjoy the journey. I did not take this role. I did not seek this role. Everybody, I hope, understands that I had plenty to do, and Mayor Collier reached out to me and asked me if I would fulfill this role. That was 2.5 years ago. I did take it somewhat rather reluctantly, but I have to tell you it's been one of the most pleasant experiences of my life from a career standpoint, because of the way the staff has supported me, because of the way you've supported me, the things we've gotten done together, the amount of property we took that was vacant and on the city's rolls and turned down to tax-paying revenue, what we just saw in the financial report with the increments coming in. I think everyone here that's on this stage today, that's out here in front of us, staff, we had a lunch today. I hosted a lunch today to thank the staff for their contributions. I just can't tell you enough that while we might have made a few dollars in consulting fees out of this, what I really got out of it was a lot of new great relationships with a lot of fantastic people. And I just want you to know how much I feel privileged to have served you. So, with that, I'd like to ask Corey if she has any closing remarks to the RDC.
No, I just want to echo what Dan said. Thank you so much for all your service. I will be moving on at the beginning of the year, and so I just wanted to thank you very much for everything you have done for the city, and I know will continue to do. And I really think that we all are very grateful for what Dan has been able to accomplish in his years here, because as the mayor said at the lunch today, economic development certainly is on an upswing and has really made its mark in Lawrence because of Dan's efforts, and we really appreciate it. So thank you, Dan.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Corey.
Back to you.
Comments from the commissioners? Hearing none. Oh, Cheryl?
I just wanted to also echo what Corey has just said. Thank you so much for all of your efforts, Garmong's efforts, Joe Murphy's efforts along the way, and I think you're leaving the city in very good stead.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Well, all the stuff that I was going to say pretty much has been said.
Go ahead.
I think I will. I started with August 2020, when Dan joined us, and I went back through his list of things he's done, which I got on a monthly basis, his activity reports. It's just amazing. Such a capacity for work. We'll miss working with you. But one of the things I wanted to mention too is, you know, we had some new people coming to us in that time frame. Melissa, you came to us then. And Dan conducted an introductory session, you and Joe. I don't know if you remember that. I'd forgotten all about that, but yeah, that was a good time. But it's just there's too much here. Dan, I would only say that everything you've said, I could double. I mean, there's just been a night and day difference in economic development and redevelopment commission activity since you arrived in August, or actually a little bit before that. And it's really been fun to work with you. You've been most gracious to everyone, I think, without exception. And I, for one, will miss working with you, and I can say in behalf of the Redevelopment Commission, you've done a tremendous job, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Joe, I thank you as well. Good grief. I mean, our volunteer recording secretary, the one that chases everybody down to make sure we can, in fact, have a meeting, gives me a heads up when he doesn't think we can. Your help has been greatly appreciated as well. Thanks so much.
There is one more thing that unfortunately Corey and I can't reveal, but there is going to be a huge announcement by the governor on behalf of Lawrence next week.
Next Wednesday night? Yeah.
That is really going to set this city on the map. And Corey and Joe get all of the credit for what's going to be announced. And it's just...
Dan, that's what's known as a big tease.
It is a huge tease.
I was just thinking the same thing. It's like the tease.
There's going to be people all over Indiana die because Lawrence gets this award.
Wow, that's great. I'll look forward to next Wednesday night. The other thing I'd like to say is to the commissioners, it's just been an absolute pleasure to work with you folks. Dan mentioned one thing earlier, and I don't know if this can't be said enough. I think we really focused on doing what was needed for the city of Lawrence and no other reason. And it's been a whole lot of fun to be able to do that. So I hope we can all feel proud for what's been accomplished. Yeah. So with that, if you have no other comments, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Adjourned.